City Matters.
This is Alan Mindel with Influential Origins, and I have an absolutely phenomenal guest today, Youssef Elazhari. Youssef has an incredible history to talk about a phenomenal country that has played a pivotal role in the world, and to talk about some of his entrepreneurship and where it has led him today. So Youssef, please tell me exactly what your position is today.
So thank you so much, and I'm very honored to be here with you in this show. So my name is Youssef Elazhari. I was born and raised in Marrakesh. So basically, I do research in AI in Rabat. I also have this company that assesses and controls the AI risks in company. But if you ask me maybe 4 years ago, where do you see yourself? I don't think being here is one of the options. I think I joined Sharaka when I first visited Israel, and they talked to me 3 months after my first visit, and they told me, do you want to join us to bridge the gap between Arabs and Israelis? And I was like, yes, say no more, because I really wanted to do something after the Abraham Accords, because the Accords themselves cannot push anything. So my role right now is as a Sharaka Moroccan Affairs Director. I bring people to Israel, to Auschwitz, just to learn more about the Jews and about the history of Israel, because I feel that it's very important, especially after a time of war right now. People, they need understanding, they need nuances, and this is exactly my role.
So I'm going to take you back to the beginning so that everyone can have context of this, what I believe is a phenomenal story. Tell me a little bit about the history of Morocco. And if we can, you know, Jews have been in Morocco for 2 millennia. So let's talk about the early days of Morocco, where it is geographically, North Africa, part of the Middle East, and all of that.
You know, it's very confusing when to talk and you want to share more about Morocco's history, because it's like a tapestry of a lot of cultures. So it's Berber, Amazigh, as the indigenous people love to call themselves, Amazigh. It's also Jewish, because the first Jews that came to Morocco, it was after the destruction of the first temple, which is more than 2,500 years ago. The second wave of Jews was after the Spanish Inquisition. And back then, the Jews, when they went to North Africa, they thought that there would be no Jews in North Africa, but they were very surprised. Oh, there is a huge community here living side by side with the indigenous people who are the Amazigh. There were many dynasties in Morocco, starting maybe from the Idrisid dynasty, who were the founding dynasty of what we call right now Morocco. And then the last one is the one we are in it right now, which is the Alawite dynasty. And between the first and the last one, those dynasties, they didn't have the same perception about the Jews. Some of them, they were very bad to Jews. Some of them, they put them in the center of financial advice. And as a matter of fact, the richest sultan or ruler in the Moroccan history was Ahmed bin Mansour. He's from the Saadiyin dynasty, and he was the richest. Maybe you ask yourself how. He was really among many Jewish financial advisors back in the time. I believe right now Jews are very well protected. And here you can recall the history of King Mohammed V, who refused to deliver Jews to the Vichy regime. Back then, the one who was in charge of the French colonization in Morocco was named Charles Noguès, and he was reporting directly to Vichy. But also he is a good guy in a particular moment, because he worked hand in hand with King Mohammed V to protect the Jews. And the King Mohammed V was very firm about that. He was like, there is no Jews, it's only Moroccans.
This is the real key. And so we even have survivors here at the Holocaust Center that their ticket to survival was to get to Morocco, because regardless of what the status was of people, and the Germans up until 1943 were there in Morocco, but to the Sultan, when they asked him, that they were going to deport Jews to concentration camps. He said, no, it's not about Christians or Muslims or Jews. They're just Moroccans.
True.
And you're not going to take my Moroccan people.
It's so true.
Yeah.
Because French people, they really did so bad to even create some Holocaust, camps in Morocco itself. And the king was really against that, but at the same time, he didn't have that much power back then. So you can understand that he was in a dilemma, protecting the whole of the nation, maybe not kind of abandoning the Jewish part of it, but at the same time, he didn't. He just wanted the full of it. He wanted to protect the full of it. I think he was lucky enough, because after having or making such a decision, it was the U.S. intervention that started from the airport of Casablanca.
Yeah.
So they went through the World War II, coming from Casablanca airport, where they regrouped, military flight jets and everything. And so that's the God.
Within 3 months, all the laws against Jews were gone.
True.
Right away. I mean, yes, Jews were, if they did not have their papers, they were in sort of like separate camps, but it wasn't concentration camps.
Exactly.
It may have been a hot desert with a tent, but, it wasn't what we associate with the Holocaust.
There was no ghettos in Morocco.
There was no ghettos. There were mullahs. There were certain sections that were Jewish sections, but it wasn't the starvation or any of the things.
Yeah.
For Jews, the way we perceive it, even if it wasn't equal rights, it was a safe haven.
True.
For Jews to go to.
Even those mellahs as Jewish neighborhood, they were not as a form of restricting Jews from living their life. They were more like Jewish neighborhood that they were really near the royal palace.
Yeah.
So they were not outside of the city life where they are like very far from mingling from the citizens. No, they were really near, let's say, the best place you can be, protected by the royal guards and everything.
So Morocco is this incredibly unique country because it has, it's a part of the Middle East on some constructs.
Yeah.
It's definitely part of North Africa, but it also has the French influence. It has a little bit of the Spanish influence through it. And it has, a diaspora, like the Jews have a diaspora throughout Europe. Morocco has its diaspora in Spain, its diaspora in France, and its diaspora in Israel.
True.
So many Israelis, Jewish Israelis, identify themselves as Moroccan Jews.
True.
And their family may have left 70 years ago, but their culture is Moroccan. And they see it always as a beautiful thing that they will never let go of, regardless of where they are today, And so, Jews in Morocco itself, whether things were good or bad or up or down, they always felt generally pretty safe there. And even today, Jews in Morocco feel safe.
True.
If I took you to my temple in Great Neck, Long Island, which I know you're at, right? You would find on a Saturday morning service, there's a security guard.
Yes.
If you look closely, the guy's holding a gun, right? But if you and I are walking through Marrakesh or Casablanca and we go to a temple, and there are temples there, there's no need for it. I mean, that's an incredible thing, that Jews in a Muslim majority Morocco feel safer today than Jews do going to temple in New York.
It's a very sad thing to witness right now.
Yeah. No one would have guessed this in a million years.
Yes.
But, you alluded to, and you've been very humble about it, because the truth is, we're conversing in English right now. If we were going to start talking in French, You could talk in French, I couldn't. You could talk in Arabic, I couldn't. You know, you are exceptionally well educated.
Thank you.
Your experience is in marketing and strategic planning, correct?
Exactly.
But it wasn't all just in Morocco that you were educated.
True.
Tell me about your experience at the University of Delaware.
So the thing is that was my first experience abroad in general. So I grew up in Marrakesh. I studied in Oujda, which is in the north. I studied in a little bit in Casablanca, and to go to outside, for the most Moroccans, they go to Spain since it's the closest European country. They might go to France, but to go from Morocco directly to Delaware, I mean, it's a huge change of scenery.
That's a tremendous culture shock.
Yes, and I remember when we landed in Washington Dulles, and I was like watching the roads. I'm like, oh, this is America.
Yeah.
And I was very surprised about how there were many similarities, but in the same time, I felt like I blended easily.
Yeah.
I think maybe because I felt that the American culture was more like just ask, don't look for excuses, just do things, just have the initiative and make it for yourself. You know, there's many values that I shared with Americans back then. So when I went to Delaware, you know, the classes, the people, it was from all over the world. It really taught me something about that we are all the same.
Yeah.
Because, you know, we should not undermine the effects of the Cold War that divided us, like first world, second world. So for Moroccans and many African countries, they believe that they are third world for an eternity. And whether we go with the second world, the first world, but we are still a third world. But go in there and blend in with the Americans and blend in with different sort of nationalities. You're like, oh, there is no first or second or third. We're all the same. You know, we are, you know, if they are smart, we are smart. If they can answer, I can answer to that.
Yeah.
So I believe it broke the ice going to Delaware, like the layers of differentiation or distinguish for me, like as a Muslim Moroccan or other nationalities, it was all the same in a particular moment. I didn't feel no difference.
Because it's all here for a land of opportunity.
Exactly.
I mean, that's the beauty and the promise of America that we sometimes worry about today. If we are still living up to that, you know, we're about to have our 250th anniversary of a nation trying to be this more perfect union. But the theory is that America is a meritocracy, right?
Exactly.
There is no kingdom. You know, everyone that's a citizen, wherever you came from, and we all came from different places with different opportunities, you know, here we have the opportunity to make it here.
True.
Which is what people of all cultures have, you know. So that Delaware experience really kind of...
Yes, it's like it unified my thinking about the world. And right now, out of a sudden, I am thinking universal.
Yeah, yeah. And that's the other thing that I think is, you know, uniquely powerful and phenomenal about Morocco. It is without a question, a devout Muslim country, in a large part, not entirely, but mostly. But it is a pluralistic society.
It is.
It's an accepting society. And, you know, the countries that are part of the Abraham Accords, you know, they share the fact that they're all in the Abraham Accords, but they also seem to share the fact that they're all pluralistic. Bahrain, UAE, Morocco. And when you compare that to the general Middle East and North Africa, I mean, how is the standard of living and life for a Moroccan versus maybe someone who's a Libyan right next door, or someone, you know, who's an Iranian, you know, off of the peninsula next to the UAE?
I think the first thing that comes up to my mind right now is stability.
Yeah.
Because we don't sleep and then think about tomorrow as there will be a trouble or a war or a problem. Because most of the people live in a very stable way that tomorrow it's like today, it's like yesterday. like we have a king,
Yeah.
and this king is really protecting us from any threat, whether it's outside or inside. And people here sometimes, and here I'm talking about foreigner, when they first come to Morocco, they think that we have a totalitarian ruler.
Right.
Yeah, and that is by being a kingdom, it's that we don't have the right to speak freely, for instance. But those people, they confuse royal absolutism with our regime as a kingdom, because we are a constitutional monarchy, and we have a government, we have institutions that really work separately from the governments, etc. And we have one king that got, as we call it, transcendent knowledge from his past, his king, His Majesty King Hassan II, and then it's like a transcendence of values and how to rule Morocco. Yeah. And it was the case since forever in Morocco. We had big kingdoms from the Berber Amazigh era to the Muslim right now era. Like Morocco was always ruled by kingdoms. And those people, they blended very well in the kingdom values. And this is why you see that most of the people in Morocco, they love their king, because they still have the opportunities that you talked about, for instance, in America. They still have, let's say, an opening to do something big. See what I mean? And
they have individual rights.
Yes. And once you have
that is unique in that neighborhood.
You know what is funny is that the easiest thing to create in Morocco is an NGO. They will give you a paper to execute, things and do actions the next day. Yeah. It's the easiest thing to do. It's not like in other states, Arab states, it is very hard to create an NGO, and then there is a huge police check about that and what do you want to achieve. I mean, in Morocco, you still have this freedom, and then you have also press that can talk about this and that, and without anyone knocking the door and telling them you cannot work anymore. I believe this is exactly what made people and their king in a very good relationship, and that they believe it's a part of their identities. It's the same thing I do as well, because we have three symbols. It's God, the nation, and the king. And I believe those true values is really what makes Moroccans right now, is that they feel in a very protected way. They know their place in Africa, and they want to achieve things. So.
Yeah, and they do achieve things.
Yeah.
I mean, you do have advanced universities.
Yes.
A lot of American universities that go there because they found the stability and the success with it. But as I think you've pointed out in a lot of your speaking engagements before, for Jews, it was interesting that the Moroccan people very much accepted their Jewish Moroccans.
True.
But their perception of Israel was not necessarily that different from the rest of the Arab world. That the propaganda of what Israel was is pretty much what they believe through. That they might have been pro-Moroccan Jews, but against Zionism.
True.
Which right now in America is this whole controversy where people say, well, I'm not anti-Semitic, I'm only anti-Zionist.
Yeah.
Right. But they think of it as in any form, and they judge it differently than they judge just about anything else. But, I know it was a pivotal moment for you. The Abraham Accords was a pivotal moment for Israel, for America, as well as for Bahrain, UAE, and Morocco. And after the Abraham Accords came, you had an opportunity to go to Israel.
Yeah.
And I know you've discussed this before, but I think it's important for people to understand the concept. So tell us first how you perceived the Abraham Accords when it came to Morocco, and how that got to you to end up getting on a plane to Israel.
Okay, I will tell you something very honest. I didn't know nothing
Yeah.
about the Abraham Accords when they were signed.
Yeah.
I didn't know what are the implications or the consequences of what the so-called the Abraham Accords.
Right.
It was just out of nowhere. A friend of mine.
Yeah.
We went to the same school we studied in, and he asked me on LinkedIn. He didn't even have my direct contacts, and he told me, "Do you want to come to Israel? We will host young Israelis in Marrakesh, and I know you are from Marrakesh.
Right.
And later on, we might go to Israel as young leaders, delegations, Moroccans.
Right.
And I was like, you say no more, of course.
Right.
And to be honest with you, I didn't know what to expect because
Right.
don't forget something. As spoiled as I am in terms of culture and religion, because my both parents, they grew up with Jews.
Yeah.
So my grandma, she passed away, and she was a huge part of my education. She always
Right.
told me about her best friend, that she came to her house and she helped her doing many things, actually, and she was Jewish. I heard
Yeah.
the same stories from my mom's side as well. So here you can understand that the Jews, for me, they were no aliens.
Right.
It's a part of my history anyway. So going there was still challenging in terms of mindset, because I'm like, will they accept me as a Muslim?
Yeah.
Maybe they will put me in a huge process of checkups and, who are you, where did you come from, etc. So I didn't know what to expect. And in the same time, back then, we didn't know much about Israel. Our sole source of information was mainly news outlets just like Al Jazeera and,
Right.
and other news outlets. So all we know, it's a very, let's call it, unilateral way of learning about the region.
Right.
It's all about Israel being the enemy, Israel killing people for no reason, and the Palestinians are the underdog, and the Arab countries are helping the Palestinians. And we saw it as like a cartoon kind of way. Bad guy, good guy,
Right.
like a hero, an antagonist.
Yeah.
And we need to get away or to kill the antagonist in order to the humanity
Right.
to perpetuate.
Right.
That was what we've seen on the media. There was no nuances to that. So I didn't know what to expect, to be honest with you. I didn't know nothing about the Abraham
Right.
Accords. And later on, I learned that actually Morocco didn't really sign the Abraham Accords. It was more like a three-part agreement, because you know why. Because since 1994 and even before that, we had kind of official relationship with Israel.
Right.
And of course, because we have a diaspora and everything, it's not like we will normalize their war relationship with
Already.
already. Like,
And there was also a Saharan connection that the Abraham Accords resolved another dispute for the nation of Morocco.
that
as well.
that was part of the diplomatic package, because in diplomacy you cannot just do things out of charity.
Right.
Even if Morocco believed in Israel right to exist, and also they preached for a two-state solution, and they wanted a Palestinian state to be there and everything, Morocco really played a wonderful job to mediate between Palestinians
Right.
and Israelis. But in order to acknowledge officially the relationship between Morocco and Israel, we wanted something out of it. And this is
Yeah.
why America played a huge role. They're like, what do you want? What's your problem, diplomatically speaking? Like, do you have anything in the United Nations you want to resolve?
Yeah.
They're like, of course. We have a Moroccan Sahara issue that we
Yeah.
really wanted. But it wasn't this for this, to be honest with you. It wasn't like we will do this just because of this. Like,
But it was just part of the package.
yeah, because it's a part of the diplomatic package. Because if you go back, then why King Hassan II did after the Oslo Accords invited both Arafat and Shimon Peres to Morocco in 1994.
Yeah.
And he really wanted to make a new deal, a peace deal between Palestinians and Israelis. There was no Moroccan Sahara
Right. At
case.
that time.
Yes, at all. Of course, we wanted something to be resolved, but he didn't put that on that package. He just wanted to find a solution to the
Right.
matter. So it wasn't really just for that. But you will understand that America really did a wonderful job to make people like normalize or to sign the accords by
Right.
giving them what they really want. And that is how diplomacy works.
Yeah. So now you met a couple of Israelis in Marrakesh, and they invite you to come to Israel.
Yes.
And the plane lands in Israel,
Yeah.
and you get off the plane, and what happens?
That was my wow moment. I was like, where am I? I mean, the trilingual signs, like you have Hebrew in Arabic, I even asked my friends if we landed on the right airport. Like, where am I?
Right.
Like the Bulgarian airport. And back there, it was the COVID time.
Yeah.
And there was people that there is a huge space in the Bulgarian airport when you need to test negative so you can enter.
Right.
And there was a clearly veiled woman, with her hijab.
Right.
I even thought that it's a marketing stand that
Right.
Israel is given to Muslim people to see, how plural
Pluralistic society.
society is. And I went to her and I asked her, who are you? Like, are you a Palestinian? How do you identify yourself? And she smiled and she was like, give me first your nose. I want to do a PCR test to you.
Right.
And later on, she answered me with a very wonderful answer that really made me realize so many things. She was like, listen, my parents, they are Palestinians, but I identify as an Arab Israeli. And she said it in a very cool way.
Right.
And this somehow kind of inspired me about those evolving identities, because the Hashemite used to call themselves Hashemite back then.
Right.
It was until 1946 that they called themselves Jordanians, and it's fine. Like it's when we started to have civil right nations after the creation of United Nations. Also, the Pakistanis used to call themselves Muslim Indians. It was until 1947 that they started to call themselves Pakistanis. And in so many countries, actually. So also in Algeria, it was until the 60s that they started to call themselves Algerians.
Right.
So why do we blame such people to call themselves Israelis? And Palestine, and that's exactly the nuance that I would love to bring to people, is that Palestine was never a country by the sense of civil right. Sometimes I ask my friends if it was really a country, who was the first president? And some people, they tell me, no, there was a passport, there was a currency. I tell them, did you check this passport? Because there is inside it is Israel. The currency was in both Arabic and Hebrew. And it was a creation of the British mandate.
Right.
So I told them, like, do you know...
It was an invention of a colonial power.
Yes. It wasn't even like a country back then. And it was up to the two people, both the Arabs and the Jews, to create a country, whether it's one country or whether it's two countries. And this is where the partition plan played a role, like in 1948 and even prior to that and later on. But it was all the time criticized. I don't think it was mainly by the Palestinians. It was more about the neighboring Arab countries. Right. Because an inconvenient truth back then is that if there was no Israel, there will never be a Palestine as a country.
Well, the inconvenient truth is, Gaza was part of Egypt. Yeah. And the West Bank was part of Jordan. And Jordan never said, let me create a Palestinian nation in the West Bank. And the Egyptians never offered Gaza to be its own nation apart from Egypt.
Yeah.
As far as they were concerned, they were their own.
I will tell you something very interesting, and that I found out when I was studying the Palestinian history, is that back in Jerusalem, there was like a recurrent elections of the Grand Mufti of Jerusalem.
Yeah, not all of them were so good to us.
Yeah, and
it didn't always work out.
Yeah, and back then in Jerusalem there was 3 Palestinian not Jewish families. So you have the Al-Husayni, you have the Nashishbi, and you have the Kalebo. Both Husayni and the Nashishbi, they are Muslims. Yeah. The Kalebo are Christian Arabs. And Nashishbi and Kalebo, they were they played more like a diplomatic role with the British mandate. They were very educated and they were very prosperous back then. The Husayni were more like the rebellion kind of a family. And by the way, when we talked about the elections of the Grand Mufti back in the 30s, you have to understand that the Imam Hajj al-Husayni was not even among the 3 people to be elected as Grand Mufti. Many people, they don't know this history. It was just because he was a troublemaker back then. He was so anti-Jews coming back to Palestine.
He met with Hitler.
Yes, that's later on, but I'm telling you, like way before that, because the first massacre of Jews was in the Nabi Musa. They had a festival, preaching for Moses as their prophet. But then one of the thing that created a sort of distortion, it was the Nabi Musa massacre, where Muslims really wanted to hurt the Jews back then.
Yeah.
And Imam and Al-Husayni was one of them, actually. So in order to control the rebellion, in order to control the troublemakers, they put Imam Husayni and those three people. He was not even among the three people to be elected as Grand Mufti. So here you can understand that he didn't even have that legitimacy, but he was helped by the British mandate, because for them, they just wanted to control the masses back then. But then the rest is history, and you know it very well. He was not very happy with what happened about the Jews coming to Palestine, and then he had to flee to Iraq, and then to find other endorsement, he only found Hitler, and he gave him radio. So he was his anti-Semitic religious anti-Semitism was broadcasted in Tunisia and so many countries all over the world, just to make people hate the Jews. But back in his time, you have the Bank of Palestine. It was created by Jews.
Right.
It was also the universities back in the 20s. They were created also by Jews, and they lived hand in hand with the Muslims. The Nashishbi said something very beautiful. There was like, we don't oppose the Zionist project. Like, if we are here to work together and to make this land prosperous, then why not?
Right.
And so here you can understand that there's also a beautiful Arabic Muslim leadership that they really wanted to leave hand. Also the Kalebo family, the Christians as well. They really wanted to find the solutions to that. It was only because back then the British mandate ponderated the legitimacy to the Husseinis, who were so anti-Israel, anti-Jews, and they just wanted to create a distortion just to kick the Jews from their region.
The part of it is that, though, those Arabs that stayed in Israel proper after the War of Independence, those are the folks that became the Arab Israelis.
Yes.
And those people today, they have full rights, the same rights as any other Israeli citizen. It doesn't matter if they're Muslim, Christian, Druze, Jewish, Baha'i. Anyone has that same set of rights. Anyone can be a judge. Anyone can be elected. Anyone could be a doctor. Anyone can own property. And one person, one vote, And so, people today have no idea of this.
Yeah.
They use words like apartheid, and I understand apartheid. I grew up during that age when South Africa was an apartheid state that had to be broken.
A real one.
A real one. That's the difference, is that there wasn't one person, one vote. There wasn't one person able to take any position in a government. There wasn't the ability to get any education or go to any school you wanted to. These rights were all completely restricted. And yet in Israel, for an Arab Israelis, none of that existed, And so that's the concept that's not really understood, that when you got off that plane and saw the writings in Arabic, Hebrew, and English, this is a different society than what Al Jazeera is portraying every day on TV.
That's what shocks you the most.
Right.
Because, funnily speaking, when I went, for instance, to the Knesset in Jerusalem, you will find a mosque inside the Knesset, where the Arab elect, people, they go and pray there. And as a matter of fact, I've met Ahmad Mansour in there, who is one of the elected Arab Israelis that they serve in the Knesset to defend the Arab Israeli rights.
Right.
And he was in a mosque inside the Knesset. So how apartheid this country is. Yes, it's something that is very weird. You go to Haifa, for instance, and you find that there are mixed marriages. So you have, in Haifa, like Arabs, like marrying Jews.
Right.
And it's normal.
It's typical.
Yes, in Haifa, it's very typical. So this is exactly what most of people, they don't understand. And
Because the media never portrays it or shows
yes,
it.
they think it's, and don't forget, we're talking about more than 20% of the Israeli society that they are Arabs. So shared between Druze, Christians, and Muslims. So this cannot be unlearned once you know it.
Right.
And also, so people, they criticize Israel for two things, actually. So they think it's an apartheid within, which is not. But sometimes they are like, okay, but what about Gaza? It's like an open prison. And maybe this is like why they started October 7th. And my question to them, have you been to Gaza prior to October 7th? Do you know that they have a zoo in Gaza? Do you know that they have a Mercedes dealership in Gaza? They have one of the best beaches. I told them, have you been there?
Yeah.
Do you think that's what you call an open prison? It's way better than even some Moroccan cities and even some American cities.
Yeah.
Do you know that? Do you think that is a motive, a reason to do the October 7th?
I mean, that was the thing for me that was the most mind-bending of things after October 7th. I think, for a lot of American Jews, the shocking day that was worse than October 7th, not that it was worse, was October 8th.
Yeah.
Because all of a sudden we're being told all these things that we know have no basis in reality. True. And there's nothing that can be said. And the funny part for me is I lived in Israel in 1989, and I've been to Gaza. And when I was in Gaza, it was the most beautiful place on earth.
Yes, so beautiful.
I mean, they would grow crops that you could never see. Anything, if you can imagine it, they would grow it. The land was as fertile as any soil on the planet. And on one side, you'd be growing some incredible crops, and on the other side's the beach.
Yeah.
Mediterranean clear waters, the most gorgeous you've ever seen, great for fishing. I mean, paradise, honestly, in so many ways, and I mean, there were imports and exports out of it every day. There still are today. There were 10,000 people a day that would cross the border from Gaza into Israel for work. I mean, it's 10,000 times the size of that immigration going from Gaza to Egypt.
True.
And Gaza is not just enclosed on the Israeli side. There's an Egyptian side. And on the other side is water. It's more part of the world than any place you can imagine.
So true.
But the thing about it is, the other thing that people hate Israel for, and that somehow the Western world doesn't appreciate it for, and it's something that I think you appreciate because of some of the other charitable work you've done, Israel believes in the rights of women. Women have equal rights in a way that doesn't exist really anywhere else in the Middle East or North Africa. And, regardless of your sexual orientation, you're free. So it's religious freedom, it's gender freedom, and it's sexual orientation freedom. And they're hated for that more than anything else. But I know that you, for Africa, not just Morocco, you worked on a program that made sure that women stayed in school and tried to get higher education and better degrees.
Yes.
Can you talk a bit about that?
So in Morocco, the women rights, it grew up like years by years. And right now we have not only women lawyers, but also women as CEOs of big companies.
Right.
You have also women that they are ministers, and they are doing a very wonderful job. For instance, the Minister of Energy, right. The Minister of AI transition or digital transition. And you have also double role, like responsible ministers, like for instance, the mayor of Marrakesh, She's also the minister of building and planning and structure planning in Morocco, for instance. So here you can understand they have been put in the center of leadership of very big projects.
Right.
I was also spoiled that my mom also is a teacher.
Right.
So I grew up in a house where my both mom and dad, they work. So I sometimes when my mom has exams where she needs to stay the whole day to monitor her students, it was my dad who used to cook for us lunch when I was a kid. So this synergy of two working parents I grew up with. And here you can understand that the women's rights was not only something about laws, but also something about my personal life, where my mom was a very strong woman, and she managed to educate us, to educate other people's kids, and in the same time be very present to us. So I believe that, again, I thank mainly the stability that was offered by this kingdom regime. Because we have many Arab countries just next to us that they couldn't afford this kind of freedom, and they were very afraid of women, and they were thinking that women are gonna make a biased country, and that they are very emotional to lead. They don't have the capacity. They don't have, but we proved them wrong in Morocco. Like. Women leaders, they did so much to this country that right now there is no distinction between genders right now.
Which, that's something that to the Western world might sound ordinary.
Yeah, but you're right.
For where Morocco is, for where Israel is, it's an incredibly powerful release of capacity and ability that does not exist elsewhere in the region.
True.
And makes that economy a more robust economy.
So true.
Than so many of its neighbors, And so you started part of a group, Fahriya, am I saying it properly?
Exactly, yes, Fahriya, yeah.
And so that made sure that in Morocco, women would take advantage of the opportunities, just like men, to create this more pluralistic society that Morocco is so proud to have.
Yeah, Fahriya back in 2013 started as a very small project because we found out that the major reason why girls, they dropped from elementary school is just because there is no sanitation, as simple as that. Right. It's an African phenomenon, it's even an Indian phenomenon, that the correlation between the lack of sanitation and the dropout is huge. Yeah. So the idea was, in order to think about the education problem as a whole, I was like, let's just give them bathrooms. Right. Because in the rural areas, schools were built, but the sanitation part of it isn't really like customized for women, for girls, like to feel a sort of like, let's say, security. Mm-hmm. So for us, we just built good bathrooms for those schools, elementary schools, and the retention rate was more than 200%. Imagine that for the next year.
Yeah.
So like you have 6 girls this year, 12 or even 20 for the next, just because their parents right now, they trust the school to protect their kids. It's not only Moroccan, it's an African issue that girls mostly, they don't finish their elementary school just because their parents, they don't want to because of lack of sanitation.
So it's an unbelievable thing. Yes. Because you can't say that in Saudi Arabia, yeah. Right? Iran, Iraq. I mean, what's going on now in Afghanistan is the disgrace of
with
the world.
Taliban.
It's just incredible. I mean, you can go country to country and you don't see it.
Yeah, but for instance, by the way, for Saudi Arabia, thank God they have this.
They're changing. They're starting to drive.
With the MBS, I love him a lot. You know why? Because when I talk to my Saudi friends and everything, right now, women, they can drive.
Yeah.
And by the way, you know that the Gulf people, they are very good drivers. By the way, in my work in Sharaka, the head of the Gulf Affairs, she's from Bahrain,
Yeah.
from Saudi descent. She's a very hell of a driver. They drive very well in the Gulf countries, and when they let the woman drive, there was no problem. They drive very well. They can right now go to watch cinema in public and everything. I think there is a huge difference between Saudi Arabia before and right now. I think with Mohammed bin Salman, I think he's doing.
Well, that's the thing, is that, you know, when people talk about, well, why was there an October 7th, you know, a lot of that is tied to the general trend that was occurring in the Middle East, which is to become more pluralistic, you know. And this was like the opening of the world again, you know. And what's going on in Iran, I mean, we talk about it in frames of the war that America has, but in January and February of this past year, 45,000, you know, young Iranians were shot and killed in the street, yearning to be free, you know, yearning for the rights of everyone, you know, yearning to not have to cover their hair, you know, to live a life that someone that wants to follow Sharia law should be able to, and someone that doesn't should be able to. You should be able to live the life that you want to live. You know, that was the American promise that's about to be 250 years old. And that same promise is what is the yearning of people all around the world to this day. You know, that's what's the shining light. And that's what makes Israel so dangerous. You know, and everything else is a political conversation that tries to get around this essential truth, that people just want the right to be who they are.
Yes.
You know. And when you are pluralistic, you get to be someone like yourself that, you know, you can work for Bell Labs, Procter and Gamble. You know, the world has opened up for you, you know. And Sharaka, I mean, I just read some basic estimates, right? You know, the Abraham Accords, for whatever it is or isn't, they're talking about 4 or 5 million jobs created out of it, right? Trillions of dollars in growth. Trillions. They're not measured in billions or hundreds of billions. Trillions of dollars in growth simply by letting societies work together, you know. And if you could just, I think it'd be a good topic to kind of finish up on, you know, there's cold peace and there's warm peace. And I know you've spoken about that. And that, you know, nations sign peace accords, but people make peace in between themselves.
Sure.
So I think that's really a good topic for people to kind of understand how that leads to the world where we are today.
Yeah, I mean, before we thought that accords by themselves can lead us to peace. Like if two nations agree on one thing, that's it.
Right.
But Oslo Accords and even with Camp David and all those accords, they taught us the harsh lesson that accords alone cannot do anything.
Right.
You know, Israel was in cold peace with Jordan and Egypt for decades.
Right.
And it wasn't broken, which is fine. And right now, as a matter of fact, the Al-Aqsa, you know, space and all that, it's preserved by the Jordanian Waqf.
Right.
And
since day one.
Yes, and they protected that peace, even if it's cold. But if you ask the Jordanians or the Egyptian about Israel, they're like, we don't like Israel.
Right.
But the government is doing great work to maintain that there will be no war against those people. I think what happened with the Abraham Accords is the other way around. We will sign accords, but it's up to people to do something. Because who's going to catalyze this relationship? And by the way, this is what Sharaka is exactly doing. Sharaka was created by an Israeli Jew and a Muslim Emirati from UAE. And they both met and they agreed, okay, we signed the Abraham Accords, let's do something to enhance this relationship. And they started with delegations. Let's bring delegations to both UAE and Israel to see what are the opportunities. And the first delegation to Israel and the first delegation to UAE through Sharaka was a business kind of delegation.
Right.
Even to Morocco, the first Sharaka delegations from Israel to Morocco, it was a kind of a business delegation because we wanted to enhance. But what we figured out is that there is always this cultural problem, is that even if you want to start a business between two countries, people, they still
don't trust each other naturally.
Very skeptical, exactly.
Right.
So for us, we wanted them first to understand the history. We want them to understand that here are the nuances of the history of the regions, and of course we respected each country diplomatic rhetoric. We are not excommunicados. We don't bring trouble to our countries. Like for me as a Moroccan, I preach for a two-state solution, and I really wanted Palestinian to thrive and all that. But in the same time, I fight so hard anti-Semitism. Because religiously speaking, for humanity-wise speaking and all that, I see no reason to hate a Jew.
Right.
But I see a lot of reasons to love a Jew. And this is exactly why I when I went into this journey, I was like, this is very irreversible. Like Jews and Israelis are giving me so much reason to love them than to hate them when I went there. And as a matter of fact, when I first visited Israel and I was hugged by so many Moroccan Israelis, I told my friends, guys, I felt like I unlocked a new feeling, which is like to be loved by the people you are supposed to hate.
Yeah.
And it really changed my life forever. And so for me, it's not that I preach for a propaganda, an Israeli kind of hasbara.
Right.
No, I don't really care about politics. And most of my topics and speakings is not really about politics, just about people.
Yeah.
I preach for both people to thrive. Israelis are not going anywhere. Palestinians are not going anywhere. But why the hatred? Why the war? Why the radicalism? I believe that there is a huge room in my Islam for Jews and Christians to live. And I believe that from my own identity as a Moroccan and Muslim, that I need to love them and to side with them. Yeah. And I believe this is exactly what King Mohammed V, King Hassan II, and His Majesty right now, King Mohammed VI, they really want to achieve. Right. That there is no reason to fight each other.
More reason to build alliances in the world and relationships.
Yes, I feel it's a nonsense war, to be honest with you. And you talked about how Gaza is beautiful. Also, don't forget, Gazans are one of the most educated people in the world. And sometimes I tell my friend, if only we left them alone, they would have peace with the Israelis. Mm-hmm. Like, they know how to speak about themselves. I believe that we paved our way to hell with good intentions.
Yeah. Everyone always does.
Yeah, and Arab nationalism really screw the integrity of that land.
Yeah.
And by the way, the one who didn't follow this Arab nationalism and this BS, they are the one who stayed as Arab Israelis, and they are thriving.
And ended up being the wealthiest,
yes,
per capita, most educated, healthiest group,
yes, and
of all in the world.
And Gazans, I know that there are many voices, Gazans, that they really want to have peace with Israel. Like, imagine being the neighbor of Israel.
Yeah.
Like how
if only there wasn't Hamas to hold them back.
Yes, they would have built a Dubai in Gaza.
Right. Which could really be real. People act like that's not a reality.
Yeah.
That's possible, but it actually could be.
Exactly.
If they were led to do it.
Exactly. And
that's what scares Hamas more than anything.
It's true. And I think it's since the 30s when we talked about the Husseinis and all that, it's just fear. It's just skepticism that Jews, they will take our land. But it didn't happen. Right. If they want to kick off all the Arabs, why they didn't kick the 20% Arabs
out of their own country?
So the math doesn't make
Never
sense.
Ends up.
Yeah. So those paradoxes, they need to be treated in a very serious way, like the genocidal intent of Israel and all that. They really need to see the reality of Israel, so they can understand that it's not about what you think.
The least successful genocide in history, where a population actually grows threefold.
Yes, and you have right now more. Gaza used to be, I think, around 600,000. Right now we're talking about 2.4
million.
Yeah, so
million. It's the only genocide that makes people have babies.
Yes, I don't understand that. Like people are hiding, like in tunnels, and they are endangering their own people, and then they are blaming Israel for killing them. Then
Well,
you are
that's
the one who
thing.
started.
There's
the war.
tunnels for Hamas. There's no bomb shelters for civilians.
And they could even hide those people into the Hamas tunnels if they really
they
care about
don't.
their people.
But they never did.
And that's the problem of radicalization, actually, because there is no metric of failure. Because if they kill an Israeli, oh, that's glory. If they get killed by an Israeli, it's still glory because it's martyrdom and they will go to heaven. Who told you that? As a Muslim to Muslim, I'm telling them, why do you endanger the life of a kid? You don't know nothing about its future.
Right.
Why do you put him in? You throw them into this war for nothing. Why did you start a war you know you are gonna lose? It's against Israel, and you don't have even the means to do it. Like, what is your purpose? Do you want to thrive as nations? Do you want to live and make people prosper, or you just want to
Cause suffering.
And this really pisses me off as a topic, because I all the time wanted Palestinians to have a state that is very balanced and work hand in hand with Israel, and you have no idea how both together they can achieve.
Right.
But what you see right now is a total disaster, and I feel sorry for all the kids that they are dying like that for no reason.
And, there hasn't been an election in the
Never.
Palestinian Authority in
Even in Gaza.
13 years. Well, there was one election. Hamas did win it.
But they killed
And then
1,300
yeah.
Fatah.
Yeah, and
people.
the next thing you know, they took all of Fatah to the tallest building and threw them off the roof.
Yes, like who will talk about this? Al Jazeera? Do you count on Al Jazeera to
Never.
cover that?
Al Jazeera is run by Qatar. It's
Yeah.
not a free press. There is no free press
And
there.
it's and this is really the misleading truth. Like, I wish people with AI right now and those LLMs, they just talk to those LLMs and tell them what happened to Fatah when Hamas accessed to the authority in 2007, when Ariel Sharon withdrew in 2005.
It's one thing to not know your history. It's another thing to do everything in your power to avoid knowing it.
Yeah.
And that's what's going on. Well, Youssef, I think it's been a good conversation. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope our listeners get to learn something unique and different with you. And, as a Holocaust Center, it's an honor and privilege to have you here, and you're all welcome back. You can consider this home.
It's a honor
Thank
for
you.
me, and I felt very welcomed. And thank you so much for inviting me today.
Our pleasure. Well, that's it, folks. Join us on our next episode. Thank you for listening.